Stick with me here. So, if you come, before you sit down and eat, what do, people of God? Wash your hands. Yes. And you know what? We've known this even before we had a pandemic, that it's kind of gross not to wash your hands. Am I right about that? Well, we know a little more about microbiology than they did 2,000 years ago, so that's fine. And, one of my favorite sayings right now, and we have it written on a sign over the sink, it says, "Wash your hands because germs and Jesus are everywhere." We thank Reverend Adrian for that one, I believe. But that's, Jesus actually meant something different, because we're talking about this group of people called the Pharisees, but really, it means any kind of well-meaning church folk, and we certainly have had this in every church or every synagogue that has ever been, is people who tell us you just have to do the right thing, say the right thing, know the right people, do the right rituals, and everything will be fine. And more to the point, they say that the things that you might eat could be bad unless you properly wash and do this sort of ritual. It wasn't about soap. It was about doing the right and proper thing and reading out of the right and proper vessels and plates. And Jesus said, no, that's not what's important. It's not what comes into you from outside. It's what's inside of you that matters. Jesus is saying it's what's in your heart. And the people who were saying, oh, you've got to wash your hands before you do that, the thing is, they were saying that you had to do everything proper. You had to know the right people, had to wear the right things. But they didn't have love in their hearts. And we've all known people like that, and sometimes we fall into that trap themselves. It's what our Texas friends would say, all hat, no cattle. But maybe a spiritual version of it, right? All show, but none of the love. Well, some of you all might remember, I don't know if these guys will, a character from Saturday Night Live called the Church Lady. Does anybody remember the Church Lady? You all remember this? By the way, whenever I have sort of what I think is a clever reference from the 1980s, anybody who is 39 or below after church says, "Old man, I didn't get it." So bear with me as we do that. But the Church Lady, this was a character in a show, and it was meant to be funny. She was the most important person in her church, and she was a busybody. Do you all remember that? I'm not going to make the sound, but I'll make the face behind the mask so that you can't see it, right? And the funny thing about it was she had a talk show, and people would come on the show, famous people or people pretending to be famous people, and the Church Lady would kind of look at them all judgment-like, as if they haven't had a bath in a year, as if there's something really wrong with them. And the joke was, we were all in on the joke except for her, because she was doing something. And I think we've all met a church lady, and we've probably all been the church lady once or twice in our life, where we may say the right things and we may show off the right things, but there's not really the love in our hearts that we need it to be. And so that's when we say that it's love and it's what's in your heart that matters the most. And I think that when we get into this place where we start judging other people, where we start saying other people are improper or impure, once we start getting into that game, what's really going on is we are not feeling like we are worthy enough. We start feeling that we are not good enough, and usually we know we're doing this when we point to that other person or that other group and we say, well, they're not good enough. It's usually a mirror that we hold back up to ourselves. And I think Jesus was saying to his friends and his followers and all the people gathered around those tables and saying, you are enough. You are who God made you to be, and God made you to love and to care for one another. So it doesn't matter what you eat. It doesn't matter what kind of nice plates you eat them on. It doesn't even matter if you're eating with the right people or not. What matters is what's in your heart.